The massive chamber stretched before Ambassador Li Hyun like a cathedral of arrogance. Floating platforms held delegates from across the galaxy, each species more convinced of their superiority than the last. The air hummed with translation devices and the soft whispers of political maneuvering that had become as natural as breathing in this place. Li Hyun adjusted his simple black suit and tried to ignore the familiar knot in his stomach. 15 years. 15 long years he had sat in this chair, representing humanity to beings who saw his species as nothing more than useful tools. The mahogany table before him was scarred from countless meetings where Earth had been carved up like a meal among hungry predators. Chancellor Vextar of the Vorthan Empire rose from his crystalline throne, his purple tentacles swaying hypnotically as he addressed the assembly. The Chancellor's massive form dominated the center platform, his three eyes gleaming with barely contained amusement. Behind him, holographic displays showed Earth's outer colonies in brilliant blue, soon to be marked in Vorthan red. Honored delegates, the Chancellor began, his voice echoing through translators in dozens of languages. We gather today to discuss the next phase of galactic optimization. The human territories have served us well as peacekeepers and resource providers. However, efficiency demands we streamline their contributions. Li Hyun's knuckles whitened as he gripped his chair's armrests. Around the chamber, alien heads nodded in approval. The insectoid Kalari clicked their approval with sharp mandibles. The crystalline Nexari hummed in harmonic agreement. Even the usually neutral Zaltharian observers seemed pleased with the proceedings. Earth will transfer ownership of its 12 outer colonies to Vorthan administration, the Chancellor continued, his tentacles writhing with what passed for joy among his kind. Additionally, 2 billion human citizens will be relocated to our industrial worlds to address labor shortages. Surely our peace-loving human friends understand this serves the greater galactic good. Laughter rippled through the chamber like poisonous gas. The sound struck Li Hyun's ears with the force of physical blows. He had heard that laughter before, when Earth was forced to give up its asteroid mining rights, when human soldiers were conscripted for alien wars, when Earth's children were taken as cultural exchange students and never returned. The Kalari delegate's voice buzzed through his translator, humans breed quickly. They can spare the population. More laughter. The Nexari chimed their musical approval while their crystalline forms sparkled with reflected light. To Li Hyun's left, Ambassador Court of the Celian Republic leaned forward with interest, his scaled face showing the same expression a shark might wear before feeding. The motion is entered into record, announced the Council Secretary, a floating mechanical construct that had overseen humanity's slow dismantlement for decades. Are there any objections? Silence filled the vast space. Li Hyun felt the weight of expectation pressing down on him like the ocean's depths. This was the moment he always dreaded, when he would stand, clear his throat, and begin another futile diplomatic dance that would end with humanity losing more of itself. But something was different today. Perhaps it was the memory of his daughter's face when she asked why humans always had to give everything away. Perhaps it was the report he had received that morning about human children dying in alien labor camps. Perhaps it was simply that 15 years of swallowing poison had finally filled him to the breaking point. Li Hyun stood slowly. His chair scraped against the metallic floor with a sound like grinding teeth. The massive chamber fell silent as thousands of alien eyes turned toward the lone human representative. Chancellor Vextar's tentacles stilled. Ambassador Li Hyun, do you wish to present humanity's acceptance of these terms? Li Hyun looked across the chamber at the assembled predators who had fed on his species for 3 centuries. He saw the Vorthan's confident smile, the Kalari's hungry anticipation, the Nexari's musical readiness to celebrate another human defeat. No, he said simply. The word hung in the air like a physical presence. Translator devices struggled to process the simple syllable as if they had never encountered it before. Excuse me? Chancellor Vextar's voice carried genuine surprise. In all his years of service, no human had ever simply refused a council directive. Li Hyun's voice grew stronger, carrying across the vast chamber with deadly calm. You heard me, Chancellor. No. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not provide our citizens as slave labor. We will not smile and nod while you devour us piece by piece. Shocked murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Kalari delegates' mandibles clicked nervously. Several Nexari lost their harmonic resonance, creating discordant notes that echoed strangely in the chamber. Ambassador, the Chancellor's voice held a warning edge, surely you misspoke. Humans are reasonable creatures. You understand the consequences of defying the Council. Li Hyun's eyes swept the assembled representatives, meeting each gaze with unflinching determination. We've spent 300 years being your mediators, your peacekeepers, your convenient solution to every crisis. We've fed your hungry worlds when your own crops failed. We've housed your refugees when wars displaced them. We've bled and died in conflicts that meant nothing to us but everything to you. His voice rose, carrying the accumulated frustration of centuries. And what do we receive in return? Condescension. Mockery. Demands for our children to fuel your industries. You speak of us as breeding stock, as expendable resources, as useful pets who should be grateful for your attention. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted over each other in a dozen languages, but Lee Hyun continued, his words cutting through the chaos like a blade. You mistake our kindness for weakness, our diplomacy for cowardice, our willingness to sacrifice for stupidity. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper, yet somehow every being in the chamber heard him clearly. That mistake ends today. Captain Kim Tai stood on the bridge of the New Sol *, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His ship looked like any other human research vessel, clean white hull, scientific sensors, and peaceful blue lights that marked it as a civilian craft. For 12 years, he had maintained this lie perfectly. The bridge hummed with quiet activity. His crew worked at their stations with practiced calm, running what appeared to be routine geological surveys of the asteroid belt. To any watching alien ships, they were just another group of harmless humans collecting rock samples and taking notes. Kim Tai's personal communicator chimed softly. The message indicator showed the highest level of encryption, the kind reserved for emergencies that could reshape the galaxy. His fingers moved across the holographic interface, entering codes he had memorized but hoped never to use. The message decoded slowly, each word appearing like drops of fire on the display screen. Around him, other crew members received similar transmissions on their personal devices. The bridge atmosphere changed instantly from routine boredom to electric tension. Lieutenant Hansu looked up from her station, her young face pale with shock. "Captain, are you seeing this?" "Yes," Kim Tai replied, his voice steady despite the storm building in his chest. "Communications, send the confirmation code to Earth Command. Navigation, prepare for immediate course change. Engineering, begin Phase 1 preparations." The crew moved with sudden purpose, their hands flying across control panels with movements they had practiced in secret for years. Every person on the bridge knew this day might come. They had trained for it, prepared for it, but none had truly believed it would happen. Kim Tai walked to the center of the bridge, his reflection visible in the polished floor. Around him, status lights began changing from peaceful blue to amber, then to the harsh red of military readiness. "All stations, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Drop the masquerade. I repeat, drop the masquerade. This is not a drill." The response was immediate. Deep within the ship's hull, massive mechanical systems that had remained hidden for over a decade began to activate. The outer hull plates that gave the New Sol its innocent appearance started to retract with grinding mechanical sounds that echoed through every corridor. On the main screen, Kim Tai watched his ship transform. Where smooth research sensors had been mounted, sleek plasma cannon barrels emerged from hidden compartments. The innocent-looking cargo bays opened to reveal missile launch tubes that had been disguised as storage containers. The ship's engines changed from the gentle blue glow of civilian power to the fierce white fire of military-grade propulsion. Within 10 minutes, the peaceful research vessel New Sol had become a heavy battle cruiser bristling with enough weapons to destroy a small space station. Similar transformations were happening across human space. On his tactical display, Kim Tai watched as hundreds of icons changed from civilian green to military red. Research stations revealed themselves as armed fortresses. Mining operations activated defensive systems that had been built into asteroid bases over decades of careful construction. The human colony on Kepler 442b had appeared to be a simple farming world, its orbital platforms designed for weather monitoring and crop management. Now those same platforms extended massive weapon arrays that had been hidden within their agricultural equipment. The farmers themselves shed their work clothes to reveal military uniforms underneath. In the Tau Ceti system, what the aliens had believed to be a chain of human scientific outposts suddenly coordinated their movements with military precision. The space telescopes aimed at distant galaxies turned inward, revealing themselves as targeting systems for weapons that could strike ships light minutes away. On Earth itself, President Park Soo walked quickly down the marble corridors of the Global Assembly building. Her aides struggled to keep pace, tablet in hand, reading reports that arrived every few seconds. "Madam President, we're receiving confirmations from all sectors," the young woman reported breathlessly. "Operation Shepherd is proceeding on schedule. All hidden assets are activating." Park Soo entered the great assembly hall where representatives from every human nation and colony waited. The massive chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates received their own copies of the galaxy-changing message that had started this day. Behind the president's podium, a holographic display the size of a building wall showed the Milky Way galaxy. Thousands of points of light marked human positions throughout known space. As the representatives watched, those lights began changing color from peaceful white to aggressive red. "My fellow humans," President Park Soo began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall's acoustics. "For 300 years, we have followed a path of peace. We believed that kindness would earn respect, that helping others would make them value us as equals." The display behind her zoomed in on various star systems, showing the true scale of humanity's hidden preparations. What had appeared to be simple trading posts were revealed as military supply bases. Research facilities exposed weapon manufacturing plants that had operated in secret for generations. "We were wrong," the president continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "The galaxy does not respect kindness. It does not value peace. It understands only strength, only the threat of force, only the fear of consequences." On the display, real-time footage showed human ships across the galaxy dropping their civilian disguises. The transformation was breathtaking and terrifying. A species that had appeared weak and defenseless was revealing military might that had been built in shadow and silence. "Today, we show them what human strength truly means," Park Soo declared. "Not the strength of conquerors, but the strength of people who have been pushed beyond their breaking point." The assembly erupted in unified determination. Across 1,000 worlds, humanity shed its carefully maintained mask of peaceful compliance. The galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous predators were often those who appeared to be prey. Admiral Choi Minute stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical hologram floating before her. The three-dimensional display showed the approaching Vorthan fleet in stark red icons, 30 massive dreadnoughts surrounded by a cloud of smaller escort vessels. Each dreadnought was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The communications officer, a young man named Lee Jun, looked up from his station with barely controlled fear. "Admiral, they are broadcasting on all frequencies. Chancellor Vextar is demanding Earth's immediate surrender." Minute nodded calmly, her fingers tracing patterns on the holographic interface. Around her, the command center buzzed with quiet activity. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency, but she could sense the tension in their movements. They had trained for this moment for years, but training and reality were different things. "How long until they reach Earth orbit?" she asked. 4 to 7 minutes at current speed," replied the navigation officer. Minute studied the approaching fleet with the same expression she might use to examine an interesting puzzle. The Vorthan ships moved in a standard conquest formation, dreadnoughts in the center, escorts spread wide to prevent flanking attacks. It was textbook alien military strategy, designed to overwhelm primitive planetary defenses through sheer firepower. "They're not even bothering with stealth," observed Commander Park Jae, her second-in-command. "They expect us to roll over without a fight." "Of course they do," Minute replied quietly. "For 3 centuries, that's exactly what we've done." The main screen showed Earth floating peacefully in space, its blue surface unmarked by the massive weapons platforms that were hidden beneath its cities and oceans. To alien senses, the planet appeared defended only by a handful of outdated orbital stations and a few patrol ships that any serious military force could sweep aside in minutes. The Vorthans had no idea they were flying into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Minute touched her communicator. "Ghost Squadron, report status." "Ghost Squadron standing by," came the reply from Captain Kim Tai aboard the New Soul Star. "All units positioned behind Luna's dark side. Stealth systems operating at full efficiency. We're invisible to their sensors." Behind Earth's moon, 50 warships waited in perfect silence. To the approaching aliens, Luna's far side appeared empty except for a few automated research stations and asteroid mining operations. The Vorthans had no way of knowing that those innocent installations were hiding humanity's most advanced battle fleet. "Phantom Wing, report," Minute continued. "Phantom Wing ready," replied another voice. "Weapon platforms fully charged and awaiting your command. The enemy has no idea what's waiting for them." Minute smiled coldly. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, disguised as mining equipment and scientific instruments, hundreds of automated weapon systems tracked the approaching fleet. Each platform had enough firepower to cripple a dreadnought, and they had been positioned with mathematical precision to create overlapping fields of fire. The Vorthan fleet continued its confident approach, their formation unchanging. On the communication channels, Chancellor Vextar's voice echoed with arrogant certainty. "Pathetic humans," the alien leader broadcast, "your resistance in the council chamber was amusing, but ultimately pointless. We will take your colonies, your people, and your world. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Minute opened a response channel. "Chancellor Vextar, this is Admiral Choi Minute of Earth Defense Command. You are entering human territorial space. Turn around and leave, or face the consequences." Alien laughter filled the communication channel. "Earth Defense Command? What defense could humans possibly mount? Your species exists only because we allow it." "That," Minute said softly, "is about to change." She activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All units, this is Admiral Minute, execute Operation Shepherd. Show them what happens when humans stop being nice." The response was immediate and devastating. From behind Luna's dark side, 50 ships materialized as if conjured from empty space. What had appeared to be research stations and mining equipment suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed warships. The Ghost Squadron's stealth systems deactivated simultaneously, flooding space with the electronic signatures of humanity's hidden fleet. The Vorthan formation scattered in panic as they found themselves surrounded. Their sensors screamed warnings about weapon locks from every direction. The trap had been sprung with perfect timing. "What are those ships?" came a panic transmission from the Vorthan flagship. "Where did they come from?" Minute opened a channel to the entire alien fleet. Her voice carried the cold certainty of someone who held all the advantages. "You asked what happens when humans stop being nice. This is your answer." The battle began with a coordinated strike that lit up space like a miniature sun. Human ships attacked from multiple directions, their movements coordinated with inhuman precision. The weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt opened fire simultaneously, creating a web of destruction that the Vorthan fleet could not escape. The aliens had expected a quick victory over a defenseless planet. Instead, they found themselves fighting the most advanced military force they had ever encountered. Human ships moved with impossible speed and accuracy, their weapons striking with surgical precision. 18 minutes after it began, the battle was over. The space around Earth was filled with drifting wreckage that had once been the pride of the Vorthan Empire. Only 3 ships remained intact, survivors that Minute had deliberately spared to carry her message back to their masters. As the damaged alien vessels fled toward deep space, Minute opened a galaxy-wide communication channel that would reach every species in known space. "To all species who believed humans weak," she announced, her voice carrying across light years of space, "you have been warned." General Yoon has stood on the bridge of her flagship Busan Rising *, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace fade into the star-filled darkness of normal space. Before her stretched the Kalari home system, with its 3 gas giants and the heavily fortified world that had served as the center of insectoid power for 2 centuries. The Kalari homeworld hung in space like a massive hive, its surface covered with towering spires that housed billions of warrior insects. Orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet in perfect geometric patterns, their weapons trained outward to destroy any force foolish enough to attack the heart of their empire. "General, we're receiving multiple targeting locks," reported Lieutenant Commander Han Bo from the tactical station. "Kalari War Fleet is moving to intercept. 6 to 7 heavy cruisers, 34 dreadnoughts, and over 300 escort vessels." Han nodded calmly. For 23 years, she had served as a diplomatic attaché to the Kalari Empire, attending their military ceremonies, studying their battle formations, and learning every detail of their tactical doctrine. The insects had been proud to show off their military might to what they saw as a harmless human observer. Now she would use that knowledge to destroy them. "Communications, open a channel to the Kalari fleet," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Zexkrick of the Kalari War Fleet. The insectoid's compound eyes glittered with predatory hunger, while his mandibles clicked together in anticipation of easy victory. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with dozens of warrior insects preparing for battle. "Human General," Zexkrick's voice buzzed through the translator, "you have made a grave error coming here. Your pitiful fleet will be crushed like insects beneath our feet." Ha smiled coldly. "Admiral, you've spent 200 years believing your own propaganda. Today, you learned the difference between reputation and reality." The Kalari fleet moved forward in their traditional formation, a massive wedge designed to concentrate maximum firepower on a single point. It was the same formation they had used to conquer dozens of worlds, the same formation their military academies taught as perfect and unbeatable. Ha had watched them use this formation countless times during her years as an observer. She knew exactly how they would attack, exactly how they would maneuver, and exactly how to turn their own strength against them. "All ships, initiate scatter pattern 7, she commanded. The human fleet suddenly broke apart like a school of fish fleeing from a shark. Ships peeled away in all directions, their engines burning at maximum power as they appeared to flee in panic from the approaching Kalari force. On the enemy flagship, Admiral Zexcrick's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Look how they run. Pursue them. Destroy every human ship." The Kalari fleet abandoned their tight formation, spreading out to chase the fleeing human vessels. Individual ships and small squadrons broke away from the main force, each group pursuing what appeared to be terrified human vessels trying desperately to escape. It was exactly what Ha had expected them to do. The insects had always been hunters by nature. Their entire military doctrine was based on the chase, on pursuing fleeing prey until it could be cornered and destroyed. They could not resist the sight of enemies running away. "Phase 2, Ha ordered quietly. Across space, the fleeing human ships suddenly turned with impossible coordination. What had appeared to be panicked retreat revealed itself as a carefully orchestrated maneuver. The scattered Kalari forces found themselves isolated and surrounded as human vessels converged from all directions. The insectoids realized their mistake too late. Their perfect formation was broken, their ships spread across millions of kilometers with no way to support each other. The hunters had become the hunted. Impossible. Admiral Zexcrick's voice buzzed with fury and disbelief. "This is not how warfare works. You cannot simply ignore our superior tactics. Human warfare isn't about honor or glory," had transmitted back as her weapons locked onto the alien flagship. "It's about winning." The battle that followed was more massacre than fight. Kalari ships, designed for frontal assault, found themselves attacked from behind and from the sides by human vessels that moved with predatory precision. The insects' superior numbers meant nothing when they could not coordinate their attacks. One by one, the proud vessels of the Kalari war fleet were picked apart by human ships that struck like wolves, attacking the weakest targets before disappearing back into space. The insectoids' traditional tactics, perfected over centuries of conquest, proved useless against an enemy that refused to play by their rules. As Admiral Zexcrick's flagship drifted powerless in space, its hull breached in a dozen places, Ha opened one final communication channel. "You made the same mistake as all the others," she said, watching the dying insectoid admiral struggle with his damaged life support. "You assumed that because we were peaceful, we were weak. You forgot that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't look like a threat." But the Kalari were not the only species learning this lesson. In the crystal cities of the Nexari homeworld, sonic weapons designed specifically to exploit crystalline physiology shattered buildings that had stood for millennia. The musical beings who had once chimed their amusement at human weakness now screamed in harmonics of pain as their entire civilization crumbled around them. The proud Zephyrian Empire, whose fleets had dominated space lanes for generations, discovered that humans had spent centuries cataloging their weaknesses while pretending to admire their strength. Every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, every moment of seeming cooperation had been an intelligence-gathering operation. Across 12 star systems, the same pattern played out. Species that had grown comfortable with human subservience found themselves facing an enemy that knew their every weakness, had studied their every tactic, and had prepared counters for their every strength. The galaxy's former victims had become its apex predators overnight, and the universe would never be the same. The assembly hall on New Geneva Station was nothing like the grand chambers where galactic politics had been conducted for centuries. Gone were the floating platforms, the decorative crystals, and the architectural displays of alien superiority. Instead, the room was built with human practicality, clean lines, efficient lighting, and a simple curved table that placed every delegate at equal distance from the center. Fleet Admiral Joe 1 entered the hall with measured steps, her black uniform crisp and unmarked except for the silver insignia of the Human Defense Consortium. The room fell silent as she took her place at the head of the table. Around her, representatives from every major galactic power sat in chairs that were identical in size and comfort, a deliberate message that the days of hierarchical seating were over. The alien delegates fidgeted with obvious discomfort. Chancellor Vextar of the Vorthan Empire kept his tentacles wrapped tightly around his torso, a sign of extreme stress among his species. Admiral Kliktar of the Kalari survivors clicked his mandibles nervously, his compound eyes darting between the human admiral and the exit doors. The Nexari delegates' usual musical humming was replaced by discordant notes that spoke of fear and uncertainty. One placed a tablet on the table and activated its holographic display. The Commonwealth Charter appeared in the air above them, its terms written in the simple, direct language that humans preferred. No flowery diplomatic phrases, No room for interpretation, no loopholes that clever alien lawyers might exploit. Gentlemen, one began, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who had just reshaped the galaxy through superior force. We are here to establish a new order. The old Galactic Council is dissolved. In its place, we create the Terran Commonwealth. She gestured to the floating document. The terms are simple and non-negotiable. Humanity will provide leadership for all interstellar affairs. Your species maintain complete control over your internal governments, your cultures, and your domestic policies. However, all disputes between species, all trade regulations, and any military actions beyond your home systems require approval from Commonwealth Command. The Celian delegate, a scaled reptilian named Ambassador Court, leaned forward with barely controlled anger. You cannot simply declare yourselves rulers of the galaxy. This is tyranny. One's expression did not change. Ambassador Court, your species participated in the systematic exploitation of humanity for 3 centuries. You voted to strip away our colonies, conscript our people, and treat our children as trade goods. When we objected through proper diplomatic channels, you laughed. This is not tyranny, this is justice. The Zephyrian representative, a tall being with silver skin and multiple arms, spoke in a trembling voice. What assurance do we have that you will not abuse this power as the previous council did? You have our track record, one replied calmly. For 300 years, humanity served as mediators, peacekeepers, and problem solvers. We never sought conquest or domination. We helped species in need, protected the weak, and sacrificed our own interests for galactic stability. The only thing that has changed is that we will no longer allow others to take advantage of our generosity. Chancellor Vextar's tentacles writhed with agitation. And if we refuse these terms? What then? One stood slowly, her hands clasped behind her back. The movement was casual, almost relaxed, but every alien in the room tensed as if facing a predator. Chancellor, you've seen what we accomplished when we were trying to be reasonable. When we were holding back. When we were concerned about civilian casualties and diplomatic consequences. She walked around the table, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. You experienced our capabilities when we still cared about your opinions, when we still hoped for peaceful coexistence, when we were, as you so often said, being nice. Stopping behind the Vorthan Chancellor's chair, one placed one hand on its back. The alien leader flinched as if burned. If you refuse these terms, you'll discover what we're capable of when we stop caring about your survival entirely. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Every delegate understood exactly what she meant. The human military forces that had shattered their fleets and conquered their worlds had been operating under rules of engagement designed to minimize casualties and preserve alien lives. Those restrictions could be removed. One by one, the alien representatives reached for their signing styluses. The Nexari delegate was first, his crystalline form chiming with resignation as he added his mark to the charter. The Kalari survivors followed, their insectoid admirals' mandibles clicking in defeat. Chancellor Vextar was the last to sign. His tentacles shook as he applied the Vorthan seal to the document that formalized their species' submission to human authority. This is not justice, he whispered. This is revenge. One returned to her position at the head of the table. Chancellor, justice would be treating you exactly as you treated us. Revenge would be the complete destruction of your civilizations. This is mercy, we're giving you the chance to exist under our protection instead of under our boots. The holographic charter updated automatically as each signature was recorded. When the final mark appeared, one addressed the assembled delegates one last time. Let me be clear about something, she said, her voice carrying across space to every inhabited world through the galaxy's communication networks. We never wanted to rule you. For 3 centuries, all we asked for was equality, respect, and fair treatment. You could have had humanity as partners, as friends, as willing contributors to galactic civilization. Her expression hardened. Instead, you chose to see us as servants, as resources to be exploited, as useful animals that should be grateful for your attention. You made partnership impossible. You forced us to choose between submission and dominance. One gestured to the signed charter floating above the table. This is the consequence of your choice. The age of human diplomacy is over. The age of human dominance has begun.